Hey guys, welcome back to another video, actually the second video today. And I wanted to end today just with a bit of a chat, some more thoughts on where I'm going, and yeah, pretty much that's it. But I thought I'd do this. It's been a while since I actually was able to stop and have a whiskey and a cigar, so I thought this would be the perfect time to do that. So tonight I am enjoying a Bunnahabhain single malt, bottled at 46.3%. So fairly strong, non-chill filtered and natural color. So there's none of the artificial caramel color added here. I have added about 5, maybe 10 milliliters of water. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, it's developing a slight cloudiness, which is a result of it not being filtered. So there's more of the residues and oils from the cask in the whiskey, and the water is really bonding to those, resulting in what's often referred to as Scotch mist. Toffee, caramel. It's got some really nice creamy notes to it, this one. And with the Bunnahabhain, I'm having one of my kind of go-tos, a Gurkha Sherpa. So what is this video? What's the deal with the title, Leaving Canada? I think maybe from the past few videos, you've seen that there's a bit of, and I think what I've been expressing, a growing sense of discontent. A lot of people I know who are either immigrants to Canada or first or second generation, their parents moved to Canada. They're leaving. A number of people I know have headed to Mexico, Florida, Texas, and quite a few have returned to Europe, Italy, Croatia, a couple back to the UK. And you know, this is not something that I ever would have thought that I'd be talking about 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. When I moved to Canada in the 90s, it was, you know, this is it. This is, you know, I'll return to England to visit family, but this was it for me. I was fully invested. When I did move here, Canada was light years ahead of Europe. You know, I actually spent a number of years in Hong Kong before heading back to London, and even then, Canada, Montreal was so far ahead of, definitely far ahead of London, and not just in terms of technology, in terms of things that were available, but people's the way of thinking, people's mindset. It was so open. There was a sense of adventure. People were willing to take risks. There was a feeling that you could grasp anything you wanted to do and run with it. And that lasted for a number of years. It was a feeling and a sense that I could do things that I never had the opportunity to do before. And I'll always be grateful for these opportunities. I went to university. I finished my bachelor's. I went to graduate school. I was a commissioned officer in the Canadian Army. I started a couple of what were very successful businesses. So I think I did my part, you know, to thank Canada for what it had given me and for the opportunities it had given me. But I worked hard, you know, I worked freaking hard. Even today, I am still busting my ass to build something. And, you know, I've got different reasons for doing that, but I'm still really contributing, and it was something I always intended to do. It was never a sense of move to Canada and it's going to be easy street. It was always build and contribute and then enjoy the results of that later on. But it's you know, the last few years of, well, ever since you know what, things changed. Things changed significantly, unless they were changing before, and I just didn't notice. Um, and I'm questioning now if what I'm experiencing now, I don't sense under the current regime things really significantly changing. And I shudder to think what it's going to be like in 5 years, and where I'll be in 5 years. I mean, I know how old I'll be in 5 years, and I didn't really want to be that old and not really enjoying life the way I think that we're supposed to enjoy life. I think it's always a question of cost benefit. You do a cost benefit analysis. What is the cost and what are the benefits I'm getting for these costs? And every day I'm having a harder time really seeing what those benefits are. I have a nice house. I have a beautiful view. Um, my wife and I are building, trying to build something that later on in life that we can, kick back and say, you know what, we worked hard and we did it. But I'm not seeing that now. I'm really not seeing that. I see how much I'm paying in taxes, man, and I'm sure anybody in Canada watching this, especially anybody who started a business, being an entrepreneur, even if you're not and you're working, you see how much you're paying in taxes. And yes, once upon a time we could say, "Oh, it's great." We're always comparing ourselves to the Americans. It's fantastic because we have a free healthcare system. That is, I think, just a myth now. There is a healthcare system, and if by chance you do get to see a medical professional, you don't have to pay for it. You don't get a bill. But what are the chances that if you don't have a GP, that you can get an appointment with a GP? If you can get that appointment, even if you have a family doctor, how long will it take you to get a referral to see a specialist? Um, I had to go through something fairly recently, and it took me 6 months to get a referral, which was given to me in another province, which was then cancelled, and then I completely just dropped off the radar. In another video, I'll get into maybe some more personal experiences with the healthcare system, which are just really, really set me on a path of thinking, you know what is going on here? And this predates COVID. I take family to Ottawa, and you might have seen the King's recent visit. It looks all nice. The buildings are adorned. They got flags flying, but you just go back behind those buildings, and all you see are junkies. You see people doing crack pipes on the street, feet away from a police officer. People just comatose, lying on the streets. As you know, crime is rising, food bank use is rising, and yet every day we're asked to pay more and more taxes for this. Um, and I'm having a hard time rationalizing why. Not just what am I getting, what is everybody else getting from this? Um, so, I mean, I'm not an economist, but I can recognize financial mismanagement when I see it. If I personally was to be doing half of the things that the federal government was doing, or even the provincial government was doing, what would be the consequences for me personally? So I'm looking at it now, and I'm wondering, what am I getting from this? Does Canada offer the promise it once did? And I think I'd have a very hard time saying it does. I'm not seeing the benefits that Canada once promised if we worked hard and played the game. I'm not seeing it there anymore. On top of that, you know, 6 months of the year, 5 months of the year aren't exactly the most pleasant months. It's freezing. Um, and I didn't mind that when I was younger, but now it's just like, I don't want to be shoveling snow in -20, -30 anymore. I want to be traveling a lot more. You'd want to travel in Canada. How much does it cost to fly anywhere within Canada? How much is a train ticket in Canada just to go from I think from where I live into Montreal, which is about 40 minutes on a train, $80 return. $80, I can fly from London to Lisbon and back on one of the budget airlines. I can fly to Poland, Austria, Prague, you name it. Um, we're being. I watched videos recently from Michelle Ferreri, the former MP for Peterborough, who just lost her seat in the recent election, and she's in Turkey, or she was in Turkey. Her partner has business in Ankara, and she started putting out videos, saying, this is what it costs for us. Talking to the taxi driver, asking him how much his cell phone was a month, and it was $15. Um, and noticing the clean air and how Turkey uses natural gas that Canada could be selling to them. And these are things that you see the more you step outside of Canada. When you step outside and escape from the story that's being spun by the CBC and by the government, I don't want to get into a whole blistering attack on my dislike of the Liberal government, but when you step outside of the stories they're telling us and you see what's happening in the rest of the world. My parents live in Turkey. And this I think really started this thought process when I was paying $160 a month for internet, just for the internet, not TV. I didn't have any channels, just the internet. 140, $50 a month just for the internet, for cable internet. They're paying $10 a month for fiber optic, lightning fast speeds which I've never seen before here. And when I came back, I discovered that fiber optic was being offered in my area and at a set price, which was $110 less than I was paying to the previous company. So I switched. They've since raised the price quickly on me, but it's still far less. But it's still a lot more than I was paying, than my parents are paying in Turkey. Well, on average, life is 10, 20 cents on the dollar. Beautiful weather, beautiful food, fresh food. I mean, who's bought vegetables recently from a grocery store? It's just tasteless. I don't know where we're getting our food from now, or what they're doing with it, how quickly they're processing it to get it onto the shelves. Food is absolutely dreadful here. It never used to be. I Canada was just it reminded me, when I came here, it reminded me of those commercials or the old advertisements I'd see in old magazines about head to Canada. CN Rail was advertising Canada, and just the promise that this land once offered. Successive governments, and I'm not just saying just the Liberals, they've just stripped this away. They've stripped it away, and the sense of just despair now, and discontent that's all around. We go out sometimes, not very often anymore. We go out sometimes and we don't see anybody. Like where's the familiar faces in the restaurants? They're not there anymore. People have just given up, it seems, and they're just not going out anywhere. So this video titled "Leaving Canada." I love my house. I love my physical property, my view, my deck. I love this. I have a few good, dear friends here that basically I've known for most of my adult life. So, I mean, it's not a question of, that's it, we're selling up everything and we're leaving. We can't. My wife has kids here. Her eldest daughter has just an unbelievably just her daughter. So technically my granddaughter. I couldn't imagine not seeing her. So it's not a question of leaving, but it's how I think I will start viewing Canada. And the plan is, so we're working out the details here. The plan is that as soon as it starts getting cold, either we'll spend a couple of months in Florida. I'm not getting into the whole discussion about the elbows up and boycott the Americans. No, I'm not buying into that. Spend maybe several weeks there, then head back to London, reconnect with my family. It's been many years now since I've really spent a lot of time with my family, and just be that little bit closer to Turkey so I can jump on those very inexpensive flights and see my parents a lot more. Right now, see them once a year. We're getting older, right? You want to spend more time with your loved ones. So So then maybe spend a good few months over in London every year, then come back here for the summer, enjoy the deck. Thankfully, the work I do, I'm fairly mobile. So I all I really need is my laptop, and I can take it anywhere. So it's not a question of just retiring and just saying that's it. I'm just going to jet around the world. I don't, we're not there yet financially just to live that life. So it will be a lot of work, but at the same time, I never leave my office. I'm working pretty much 24/7, and if I'm working 24/7, I'd rather do it overlooking the Greek islands from where they live in Turkey, or do it in London and be able to go out and where there's a sense of life again. Where you're not going through hate clouds of cannabis smoke just to go to the pub. It's London has its UK has its problems too. And in some of my other videos, I talk about my thoughts on that. But one thing I've noticed is that people are fighting back. People are pushing back, and they're pushing back hard. People in Canada just seem to be buying into this, hence the recent victory of the Liberals. So I don't see it really, unless something drastic happens, I don't see it really improving to any great extent anytime soon. Sorry, my cigar keeps going out. I'm talking too much. Almost lost it. So, leaving Canada, I think to an extent, yes, at least part time, or really starting to disinvest myself, if that's the right word, disinvest myself from Canada. I've given basically my entire adult life working hard and paying an incredible amount of taxes every year. And again, serving in uniform. I believe I've given and given and given. I still continue to give. But what does Canada offer now? And my heart breaks for the younger generations, for my wife's kids who are just coming up now, and looking at what the rents are, looking at what the groceries are, and the price of petrol at the petrol station, forgetting ever trying to buy a home. Absolutely, just forget trying to buy a home. I'm lucky I started buying, got on the property ladder, some years ago, and was able to buy this house just before it all kicked off in 2019, 2020. Got it for a great price, and I had just exited my company, so I was able to invest a lot of that money into renovating this house. So I mean, right now I could sell my house for 3 times the amount I paid for it, but then I'd be stuck trying to find something else, and forget trying to buy property today in Canada. um, so that's really where I am. That's where we are. We're planning this new shift, or this new way of being, where Canada will only be a part of our yearly life. It will be spent hopefully a lot longer in the UK, and in some intervening periods in Florida. I don't like using the word snowbirds. There's a certain connotation to that, but it's anywhere south and warm, basically, where I'm not shoveling snow. And Canada will just be the place we come back to when to visit family, to spend time with my wife's kids, to visit friends. But it'll be just one aspect of my life now. It will not be I'm living in Canada, I'm fully invested in this country. That's gone. And again, referring back to a point on an earlier video, being told by the Prime Minister that we were one of those people, and that we were to be treated with disdain, I think was the final straw. That, and police knocking on my door because somebody had reported us that we had too many people in our house. We were violating the gathering guidelines, or whichever new policy that came out during that period, when basically Canada became a gulag. The whole country became a gulag, and we were locked down. I mean, happened in a lot of places, but here it was harsh. It was incredibly harsh. I don't need to tell you this. You know this. So yeah, I do love this country. I'm incredibly grateful for what it's given me. It's given me a lifetime of experiences. It's afforded me opportunities I'm not sure I would have had elsewhere. But that was the old Canada. We're now entering a new phase, and I just don't like where it's going. I don't like where it's going. So, time to really start building an alternative life largely outside of Canada now. So that's what we're in the process of doing. We're kind of like sketching out the plan, seeing if it's feasible, what's feasible, and I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted. In the meantime, I'm still going to be, hopefully putting out a lot more of these videos. I've got a lot more whiskers to kind of profile. This one's getting really cloudy now, if you can see it. Mm, that's really good. A little fruity. Yeah, putting out a lot more videos on the cigars, on the whiskey, on some of the other experiences I'm having here. And in the meantime, keeping you updated. I'll keep you updated on the plans. So yes, so it's not a video I really thought that I'd be putting out, leaving Canada, but that's really what the plan is now. And obviously, we got a few things to decide: the house and everything else, and all the logistics. But we'll cross that bridge, those bridges, when we come to them. But what are your thoughts? If any of you watching, if you're not from here, have you thought about returning? Have you thought about going back to the countries your parents are from? If your family has been here for generations, what are your thoughts? Are you looking at going? A lot of people I know are really trying to get into the States. They're seeing a lot of what's happening in states like Florida and Texas. A lot of states now where they're not paying income tax, that are offering a great way of life. And I think if Trump was to offer Canadians what he's offering the South African farmers, fast track green cards, I think we would see a mass exodus. I think we would see a complete brain and money drain. Um, I mean, just the business owners I know, who have left. I mean, we're talking a sizable chunk of change here that's just leaving this country and going elsewhere. So yeah, again, we're coming into some strange, interesting times. But in the meantime, as you say, I'm in my office. You can see my new humidor back here. I just got this going a few days ago. It can hold quite a few, so I do think I have to pick up some more cigars. I don't buy them here. I can't afford cigars in Canada with the taxes. I'm fortunate I live right on the US border, so it's just a question of going across for a long weekend. I order them from a cigar company in I think they're in Pennsylvania, and have them shipped to near where I'm staying. And I think, yeah, I'm paying about, say for example, a Camacho cigar in Canada is $30. I'm able to get them for $4 US. So it's quite a savings, and that savings is just the taxes. So yeah, so I do need to get shopping and to fill up that humidor just a little bit more. That's something I've got to really think about. What will happen if I'm out of the country for 6 months? Um, if I'm in Florida, it's fine. Cigars are really cheap in the States, but the UK is brutal as well. Anyhow, those are things to kind of figure out and plan. But until then, I'm going to keep working, keep my head down, and keep you posted. I'll keep putting these videos out, and it'd be great to have you along on the journey. So stay tuned for more. All right, guys, I'm going to sit here and just wrap the day up, finishing this the Gurkha Sherpa and my Bunnahaven. And I'll catch you on the next one.